name's Danielle and this is Excalibur Books, and today I'm going to talk about my all-time favourite fantasy books. I have 10 books here to talk about. I do have some other favourites, but I've talked about them quite a lot in recent videos, so I'm just doing the ones that I've not really talked about a lot because I don't want to keep repeating myself over books and talk about the same books all the time. These all, I think every single one of these was a 5-star read for me. Some of them are a bit outdated. I think the oldest one that I read on here, I read it 5 years ago. I'm not sure if it's still going to be a favourite if I read it now, but at the time of reading it, it was a favourite, and I do want to reread them if I've not read them for a long time. So let's start talking about the books. The first two are by the same author, and she is now one of my all-time favourite authors, and I want to read more by this author, and that is Priestess of the White by Trudy Canavan. This is part of a trilogy. This was the first trilogy I read from her. It was one of the first like high fantasy books that I read. I read a couple before, like Game of Thrones, and that might be about it really before I picked this one up. Now I did read this a long time ago, so I can't really remember it, but so from what I remember, this is about a group of like priestesses, and then they have the 5 white priestesses, I think, and our main character becomes one of those, and they're like the rulers of the land, and then there's some black magicians that are like plaguing the lands. I think they're basically just fighting against them, but I do remember really loving this. I think it has a love story between our main character as a priestess, and then there's this group of people called Dreamweavers who do like, they're like healers and use herbs and stuff, and they don't get along, so there's like a forbidden romance in there. Yeah, I do really want to reread Trudy Canavan's works. I might continue with her other series at first. And then the next one, Magician's Guild by Trudy Canavan, which is a very good like magic school story. And it starts off with like a child gets discovered to have like natural magic, so they send her to the Magician's Guild. And I think like in this world, if you've got magic, like you're not allowed, you have to go to the Magician's Guild. You can't be like untrained and like just go off on your own. So yeah, I loved this one as well. Again, I read it many years ago, so I don't know like what's a spoiler or not a spoiler. But yeah, I think she comes into the Magician's Guild and she like goes up higher in the ranks and stuff. Yeah, I love this author and I love her books. The next one was a very long time ago as well, and that is An Affair of Poisons by Addie Thornley. So this is a historical fiction fantasy set in France. It's about alchemists, and I think I remember that our main character accidentally helped poison the king or something. So then she, like, to counteract that guilt, she's like brewing remedies and tinctures and stuff to help people. And then I think she is forced to work with the Bastard Prince. They're like enemies, but they're forced to work together, and I'm not sure if a romance comes from it. It says on the back, a perfect blend of history and dark fantasy. Oh, romantic, yeah, so there is like a romance plotline. I desperately want to reread this again. I'm not sure if it will live up to being a favourite for me because it is a YA and I tend to read less of them now. But I remember loving this one when I read it. I think I read this one in 2020. Next is a recent one. I read this at the start of this year, and that is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang. This is like a different type of fantasy. It was very different from what I thought it was going into because it's set in modern times. Like they'll talk about phones and TVs and everything, and it was very much quite military based, but with like superpowers. Like they have like elemental powers. So from that description, it's not something that I would like reach for and would think that I enjoyed, but I did really enjoy it, and I didn't know that going into it. I think if I knew that going into it, I don't think I would have picked it up, so it's good that I didn't know that. But if you really enjoy that type of stuff, you'd probably really love this. It is a very slow read, which I enjoy. but it's very sad, very heartbreaking towards the end. I think that's what makes it worth it when it's like a slow, dense book, is that you get these like really emotional parts. But the writing was very good as well. It was very good writing. It has one of my favourite character arcs. Is it Misaki? We're following Misaki and her family as war breaks out in her land. Before she settled down to have children and get married, she was a warrior herself. However, this new place that she settled and new family don't like their women to be fighters and stuff, so she put that aside for married and family life. And obviously now this war's happening, she's having to like step up and go back to what she knows about being a warrior and her fighting skills and stuff. And then we get a lot of flashbacks to like when she was younger and when she was a warrior and what that lifestyle was like. I don't usually get like fighting and action scenes that well, but it was very well done in this and I really enjoyed it. I have M.L. Wang's newer release on my TBR, so I can't wait to get to that one as well. Next we have Fortuna Sworn. This is a fae romantasy book. I don't read them that often. I do prefer my epic fantasy books, but this was one that I really enjoyed. It's quite short as well, so it's easy and fast to get through. The next ones in the series are quite longer. Basically, our main character is a type of creature called a nightmare. So they look like humans and everything. So she's like a human, but she's not quite human. And her brother has gone missing. I can't really remember what happens, but at the start, I think she's like kidnapped by like a goblin market type of thing. And then like the Fae King sort of like makes an exchange where she has to go, I'm not sure if she has to go marry him or she just has to go into the fairy world. But yeah, so she goes into the fairy world and it's like a romance between these two fairies and her, and she goes in there looking for her brother basically. We get lots of different storylines and throughout the whole series, and there's different species throughout the whole series, so there's like werewolves and vampires and everything as well. And when she's in the human world, it's like small town American vibes as well. I really enjoyed that one. Next is another recent-ish one, and that's Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This is my first Brandon Sanderson book and I really enjoyed it. In this one we have like the gods are alive, like people, like you can go visit them. I think it was like the people that have died, and if they did like a good deed or something, I think they get reincarnated into these like god people that people come and worship. And then we have another like plot line where we have two princesses and one of them has been sent to marry the god king, so he's like the king of the gods, and it's rumoured that he's not like a very nice person, so the other sister goes and tries to save her. There's very interesting magic system in here. It's like a power essence called the breath, and you can collect this breath to become like more powerful, and the magic is like based on colour and stuff. So it was really interesting to read about the magic system, and I've no doubt that more Brandon Sanderson books will be on my favourite list the more that I read them. Now this is another one that was a very long time ago, but that is Magician by Raymond E. Feist. I have read a couple of series by Raymond E. Feist now, and this is by far my favourite so far. I really can't remember the story of this one because I've read a few Raymond E. Feist series. What I would say though, they're quite interesting to read because their series are like linked, like the worlds are linked. So I read the next trilogy after this one. Sorry if the angles changed, but my storage got full. But I was talking about this. I have read other series by this author and they're all linked. So the next trilogy is set in a completely different universe and world, but there's like a portal to this world that this book's based off, so we get to see characters that we loved, or at least they're mentioned like little Easter eggs. So I really enjoy when authors connect their worlds with like Easter eggs. Another author that has done that well is Jeff Wheeler, which I recently read, and I really enjoy little Easter eggs. I think they make the reading experience a lot more like personal and enjoyable. Next is one of my all-time favourites, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I think why I resonated with this one so well and why I loved it is because I'm a barista and this is like a coffee shop. I'm really getting into cozy fantasies. I love the like slice of life aspect and the less high stakes, like the low stakes aspect, but still getting that like medieval fantasy atmosphere. I particularly like ones like this where they get like a rundown building and then have to like decorate it and build it up. I really enjoy that because that's what, if you didn't know, that's what this is about. She gets like a rundown cafe and she builds it up into like a coffee shop and a bakery. In this world, people don't really know what coffee is, so she's like bringing it into this, she's bringing coffee to people that have never tried coffee before. I would really love to reread this as well. The new book is coming out, the sequel to this is coming out, so I might reread this one and then read that one. And there's a like spin-off book called, I think it's called Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I read and really enjoyed, which is a prequel to this. And then in the sequel, we're getting characters from that prequel into, they're all coming back together. So I'm really excited for that one. Next is actually a sci-fi, but it's not like a big, intense sci-fi. And that is Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. It's more of a cozy sci-fi where we're on this floating hotel in space and it's just about people's daily lives on there. Now every chapter is from a different point of view, so we've got like guests, workers, we've got the manager, and I really liked the unique writing style because you get to see, you'll read like a chapter from a character going what they're doing in the hotel, and you'll read like a chapter from someone else and they might see that person you just read about doing something else, if that makes sense. So you read them from someone's perspective and then getting someone else's perspective of them. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it was really fun to read. Not much of a plot, but I quite like that. I'm starting to find my tastes a lot more recently and I'm realising that I do actually quite enjoy the low plot, slower books, when before I thought that I didn't really like that. I've got a couple of Grace Curtis books on my TBR that I want to get to as well because this was my first cozy sci-fi and I definitely want to read more. And last one is one of my ultimate favourites again, and that is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which is a dark fantasy. It's quite dark and it's about assassins, and I think it's a assassin school. Yeah, so she goes to do training at the infamous Assassins of the Red Church. She's got to survive the tutelage of murderers, lies and demons at the heart of the murder cult. Yeah, so this is a dark assassin fantasy. It's part of a trilogy that I really enjoyed. I really liked Jay Kristoff's writing style. There are footnotes in this book. If I remember rightly, she has like this companion that's like a shadow animal, so it's like a talking cat. I think the footnotes come from him, so they're quite humorous. The talking cat companion is quite funny. I can't remember his name. But yeah, that was one of my favourite aspects of this book, the like shadow companion and like the magic to do with them. But basically I think she goes to this like assassin school to avenge, I think someone killed someone close to her and she's got to avenge that. Yeah, very dark adult book, quite graphic, but very highly recommended. I do want to get in a lot more into grimdark fantasy, so if you have any recommendations, please let me know that are quite similar to this. And that is all the books I've got to show you. Let me try and get them all. Here they all are. If you've read any of these, please let me know how you liked them, and if you've got any recommendations for me that are similar to these books, please let me know. And that is everything that I've got to talk about today, and I'll catch you next time I make a video. Thank you, bye.